All right, Damien Erskine here. Take 5. I have had some serious technical difficulties here. Trying to do this in my hotel room in Zoetermeer, the Netherlands. Not the Netherlands, Zoetermeer, Netherlands. I can't talk. Somebody had written in this week specifically inquiring about pages 35 and 36 from my book, Right Hand Drive, which is the 3-finger technique developing book. At this point in the book, we've pretty much gone through a lot of the exercises and grooves, and I just had a couple pages of miscellaneous debris. Some little effects, some little licks that I tend to play, and just a couple of things that I decided to just throw out there as some extra stuff outside of the full-on grooves and songs and exercises. But the question was specifically, how would I take the material from these 2 pages and apply them to an actual groove or in a regular musical context outside of just shedding finger patterns. So I thought I would do a little video showing you slowly how to play some of these things, and then trying to put them in some kind of context to give you an idea with my handy dandy Drum Genius app and my iPad here. I will see if I can make this happen. So first, the very first thing on there, and by the way, PDF down below for those of you who would like to read along. I encourage you to. One thing you'll notice in the book, up top there's a string guide to let you know what string I'm playing things on, and it's not a hard and fast rule. There's other ways to do it, but just to let you try and give you as much of an idea of how I'm playing it as possible. And there's also underneath, it tells you what finger I'm using in my plucking hand, or at least how I'm getting the note, not always with the plucking hand. So for reference, O, open string, kind of makes sense. H, hammer, hammering a note, no plucking hand, just straight up hammer on. Thumb, 1, 2. Thumb, 1, 2. There are also some, you might see PT, which is percussive thumb, which is when I just kind of bring my thumb down on the string. It's also percussive 1, percussive 2. And PO, which is pull off. So that D would be the pull off note, because I'm not actually plucking it, I'm just pulling the string and off. So hammer, pull off, thumb 1, 2, open string. Boom, there it is. So, number 1, flams. As you know, many of you know with this book, I broke things into rhythmic groupings and fingerings and treated them almost like it's a snare drummer, marching drum, or drum set, would work on rudiments, different stickings, different groupings with each hand, and I took the same approach with my fingerstyle. And flams are straight out of the snare drum rudiment book. It's just 2 hits close together. And I used to practice these when I was a kid. I used to practice controlling the amount of space in between my flams. Open, more loose, more space in between. Almost more like a 16th note or 32nd note. And also very tight. So it almost sounds like a stutter. And as far as how to utilize this in a group, I won't. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's more of an effect. Just more of an effect, really. It's easy to overuse, and you need to be judicious in the use of such devices, especially in the recording studio. They can really kind of clutter up the sonic space, so you have to be careful. Same with all of this stuff. But it's just more stuff in your arsenal, more stuff in your bag of tricks. Use it, don't use it. Number 2. Now this one is basically a combination of one of the 4-stroke rolls and a 3-stroke roll. The 4-stroke roll is something I do a lot, probably too much. Is open, hammer, pluck, pluck. A lot of you slap folks will be pretty familiar with that. I can't slap, so I do a fingerstyle. And then the 3-stroke roll is just thumb, 1, 2. And now in this example, I have it starting on the end of 3. Kind of a quick 4-stroke roll, 30-second notes, and then 2/16 and an 1/8 very slowly. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. Now in the context of a groove, I will just do something 100 BPMs here, a little drum genius, and I'll overuse it so you can hear how it might fit. Now when I do the roll, I tend to bounce my thumb when I'm doing the fast open. You don't have to. You can do it kind of open normal finger style, not bouncing but plucking. You can also do it muted. Any number of ways to get different sounds. I implore you to work on all of these kind of slowly, develop the muscle memory, and then practice different applications. I also tend to use dynamics to try and get flows of sound, not just but more that made perfect sense. So in context. Again, I probably wouldn't do it that often. I wouldn't play that lick every bar. But you know, once in a song it can be kind of impactful. But there it is. And that's exactly how I used to practice these things, is just by looping things and overusing them until I built the muscle memory. And ultimately they just become a part of your playing. So, number 3. This is 2 4-stroke rolls combined. And the thing that where this came from was me playing with the fretting a G, say, and then playing that against an open string. So fretting a note that's enharmonic with an open string, and you get kind of a nice chorusy effect. It's kind of, you know, Johnny B. Good. But I was kind of playing with that idea. And these 2 fingerings are thumb, hammer, and then almost like a flam, but it's really just a 30-second note against the 16th, 30-second, so twice as fast. And then thumb, pluck, pull off. Again, this is on the I guess the 2nd 16th of beat 3 and E. Sorry. 1, 2. 2. So that's the lick slowly. In the context of a groove, slightly overused. kind of like some of these things muted. They get a little more subtle too. It's not so in your face, but it's kind of a cool. So that is an example of how I might play number 3. Number 4, quick 3-stroke roll. Open, hammer, pluck, slappy, slappy. But fingerstyle. Again, fingerstyle, muted, up to you. This one I put on the end of 4. It's a thing you can use in any number of ways, and with all of these licks and lines, it's good to practice putting them on different sides of the beat. Try some on the downbeat, try it on the upbeat, try it in different 16th subdivisions. See how it'll completely change the way it sounds. Now this one, I don't have written on anything. I don't have anything written on beat 1. So technically, if we were playing this with a metronome, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Now, if I was using this on a groove, I might then play a downbeat. This one really leads you to that downbeat, which can thereby make it pretty cool if you don't play the downbeat. So I will play a groove, throw this in on the end of 4, and then leave the downbeat, the 1, open. Sometimes if you put a rest in a place where everybody expects something, it can make it actually that much more impactful. The judicious use of space can be even more powerful than the judicious use of notes. 2, 3. Okay, just practicing. You can even just sit there on that one note and just rock it on every beat if you want until it builds into that muscle memory. Again, just like the rest of them. Some of these are kind of funny to try and put in a musical context, because when you're demonstrating it, you wind up wanting to play it on, every bar, and it's not something I would play on every bar by any stretch of the imagination. Number 5, page 36. We have again that open hammer pluck, another variation on those 16th note triplets. This one, we are just simply kind of playing kind of a pentatonic, minor pentatonic pattern. Again, you can bounce off the string, mute, and I just kind of came up with that very simple line to give you a demonstration of playing using that 3-finger rudiment and playing with those triplets. But you can move it around the scale, the line, in any way you want. So this kind of presumes a D minor-ish vibe. So again, Let this little Clyde Stubblefield get a groove. And it's written as on beat 1 with a half note on the beat 3 and 4. Past the beat 3 and 4. So I'll do it that way a couple times, and then maybe I'll throw it somewhere else in the bar, maybe start at an upbeat. Maybe I'll just play different notes. Kind of nice muted. Example of number 5. Chances are if you did it like that you might get fired, but it's kind of a cool sound, nice to throw in there every once in a while. Number 6. This one is a little wonky. Making use of open strings and hammer-ons again. So it's kind of a 6-stroke roll and a 3-stroke roll in a way. The 6-stroke roll being open, hammer, open. I consider this 6-stroke roll really 4 plus 2. So open, hammer, pluck, pluck. It's an extension of my open, hammer, pluck, pluck. Throw an extra open hammer in there and you get 6. So this is kind of me trying to put that into some kind of line. So I did a open hammer, pluck. What did I do? Yeah, it's that kind of a thing. How's this go? I'm looking at my notes. I don't have my book here, so I just kind of scratched it down, and my chicken scrap just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. That's it. So open hammer, pluck, pluck, pluck. Percussive thumb or index, whichever you want. Thumb's more comfortable for me. Index finger muted pluck, open string hammer. And that's something I kind of worked on a lot for a bit there. Percussive pluck, open hammer. 3, 4. Or open sounding. Not sure. It's not a great groove by itself. Doesn't sound like much of a lick either. I think it's just a line I kind of came up with, specifically trying to fit something to that fingering, because I was messing around with that 6-stroke roll, and as well as that. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's a whole other thing. Let me see if I can play with the groove. It's probably too fast at 100 BPM. Let's move it down to 90 or something. something I play over that groove, but it's kind of fun to mess around with. And again, if you're practicing this stuff, it's a great way to practice it. Just pick a groove, try and fit it. Maybe you're forcing it, here and there. But really what you're trying to do is work the muscle memory. But it is important to always, whenever you practice, try and make it as musical as possible. I try actually not to force things too much. And if it doesn't feel natural or sound natural, I don't work on it. Unless I can figure out how to use it in a musical way. So there's that. And number 7, this is something I stole directly from Oteil Burbridge. He's one of my favorite bass players, has been since I think I first saw him play in 1992, and totally just blew my mind, changed my world. Aquarium Rescue Unit flipped me out. One of the best live bands of the 90s, if not all time, especially in the non-jazz realm. They were just masterful. I saw him doing this thing, and I couldn't figure out how he was getting so many notes with so little energy. And I can't remember if I figured it out or somebody showed me what he was doing. But it is just hammering a note and then pluck, pluck, hammer, 1, 2. Now this is very much easier if you move it between 2 or more notes, because I like to do a hammer, 1, 2, pull off, 1, 2, and you'll see why. So just going between a B flat and a C, I can hammer, hammer, pull off, hammer. After that initial hammer, then you're just alternating your hammers and your pull-offs. And once you get in your muscle memory, it's pretty easy to start moving fast. And what he was doing was moving kind of a pentatonic pattern up and down the fretboard in a solo. It was something like that. I don't know exactly. It was that kind of a thing that it's like there's a lot of notes packed in there. 16th note triplets, 32nd note triplets, whatever it was. More of a soloistic thing, not really a groove thing, but hey, let's keep the tradition. So there you have it. Those are the 8 fills and licks from Right Hand Drive on pages 35 and 36. The guy who wrote in the question was curious about them. I hope some of you were as well, and if you had no idea they existed, I hope you found them interesting and useful in some way. Who knows? None of them are going to make you play like Pino, but interesting stuff to have in your arsenal. Interesting ways to explore using your fingers in new ways, getting new sounds. So it can't hurt, right? All right. Thank you all from beautiful Zoetermeer, Netherlands. Take it easy. Quick note and an extension of an apology. Side effects of recording the same video 5 times with sufficient frustrations and difficulties presenting themselves in all of them may include the forgetting of one of the licks. Turns out there was 8 licks. I gave you 7 of them. I missed number 5, I think, ironically. However, I decided it wasn't worth reshooting the video for number 5. And it's just a quick triplety octave. Dig-a-dig-o, dig-a-dig-o. The interesting thing about that one is it's the only lick in which I can use my ring finger. 3, 2, 1, thumb, 3, 2, 1, thumb. But it's just a triplet octave. Digga-diggo. So not worth reconfiguring my setup for. But I just wanted to extend my apologies. I'm sorry. There were 8 licks. I gave you 7 of them. They were the best 7, really, truly, though. So, happy shedding. Take care.